sessions today, and one of them is about athletic facilities. Jon Niemuth is with us, and he happens to be somewhat connected to where we are right now across the way because of that beautiful new pavilion that Baylor will have soon for the men's and women's basketball programs. David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak as well. Jon, your thoughts? Let's just start with that. The pavilion, you're the architect, and just that project alone. Thanks for your time here.
No, thanks for having me. I mean, I think it's phenomenal. As we talked about in our session today, one of the really unique things about Baylor University is its presence on the Brazos and the ability to provide, I mean, we're sitting here in McLean Stadium, the ability to provide a really great bookend as you're coming down 35. You're now going to have the Foster Pavilion on one side, McLean Stadium on the other. It's like a gateway up and down I-35 when you're going through Texas. You're going to know you're passing through Baylor University now when you come through Waco. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, and especially they're building the Herd Center. It's going to be, you're kind of almost like Disney World where you know you're walking in. So as you guys approach things, I know you guys did the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, which is a beautiful facility. How do you approach each one? Like, do you look at what's the soul of the town, the school, to like make it work within not only just like functionally, but to make it people feel like, oh man, I'm really in Baylor? Sure.
I mean, I think one of the hallmarks of our firm is always every building's unique. We don't replicate. And when you're dealing with a college campus, that passion, that love, that energy people have about their sports teams and their alma mater and their city, it's critical that building is here. When you see it on TV, it's going to be Baylor, it's going to be men and women basketball, it's going to be City of Waco. You're not going to look at that and think, oh, that's Duke, or that's Kansas, or that's Kentucky. It's really going to set the tone. Now, did we have some lessons learned from some of those phenomenal arenas we've created around the country? Absolutely. But you will never confuse this with Matthew Knight or the Pavilion at Ole Miss or Little John or even Houston up the road. It was really about taking Mac's vision for a contemporary field house, something that was going to be so unique and so energetic. You're going to make the drive. You're going to come to Waco, whether it's a Saturday afternoon when game day's on the air or it's a Tuesday night and you know they're going to win by 50. You want to be in the house because something special is going to happen there.
Can you kind of take us through the process of just getting it off the ground and the discussions that take place and kind of how you get to the place where everybody's content and likes what you're going for?
No, that's a great question. I think one of the big things we worked with from the very beginning with the most senior leadership at Baylor was, what do you want to spend? Like, these can always be candy shops. Like you talk about Barclays Center, that's the candy store. What we're trying to do is create a facility that's going to be transformative for Baylor. It's going to have a recruiting effect. It's going to drive revenue to the bottom line of the athletic department. It's going to be positive for the university. I mean, with everything that's going on for name, image, and likeness and conference realignment, this building can't just be a building that adds debt. It's got to have a positive, transformative effect. So that's where we started, and we spent probably a year or more, almost a year and a half on the number. What are we buying for the number? What are the things that are critical? And then if we get all those right, what are the extra things we can have? And then obviously the success of the two programs, making sure we're giving them the championship resources they need to do to go forward. That means something different to everybody. Every once in a while, you're going to get the candy stores. Like once a school in the state did the big boards in the practice facility, it's okay, how do we come up with something special for Baylor that we don't leave that card on the table? But I think, back to the rest of it, it's really about value. What do you have to have? What do you want to have? And then how are we going to put all that stuff together to make it transformative? I think the notion of a contemporary field house for Mac, what does that mean? You could ask 100 people and get 100 different responses. The team did a great job. We worked remote during COVID. All this happened during COVID, but we just kept putting things up on the screen. We asked Mac and the other members of the administration, what are the buildings that define certain things for you in your head? We put those images up on the screen. We dissected them, and it wasn't about, hey, we want the blue seats from Duke or we want this or that. It was, what are those elements? What are those intangibles? And then we put all that in a soup and drew the pictures. It took a couple of tries, but it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't about physically copying things, but capturing the spirit or the emotions or the things about those projects that made it successful, that then Matt could say, yes, this is Baylor. And just maybe one last thing. He's challenged us to do this. Many of our clients do as well. He's like, I want to see something I haven't seen before. It might just be a little wrinkle. It might be a little tweak. But don't show me something that you've done for somebody else. Don't show me something that looks like what another school has. I want to see things that I've never seen before so that I know it really is going to be Baylor and somebody can't copy this.
You mentioned the Brazos River and, of course, McLean Stadium. That's where we're in now with where this Cal's event is going on. Does that play into anything designed with the pavilion?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think between this and the Fudge Football Center that we also have going, I mean, the Brazos River is one of those unique characteristics that's going to define Baylor. Like when you think about like great traditions, things, Toomer's Corner and Auburn, whatever it might be, no one will ever be able to copy the Brazos River. And when you start to think about these jewels, pearls on a necklace, the pavilion, McLean, track and field, you're going to have the Fudge Pavilion. You got baseball, softball, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Farrell Center. Like, it was really about sort of connecting those dots, and then by each of those facilities being special, but this collection, making the river, the facilities place on the river, the experience that creates. Like, again, think about recruiting. We can host great recruiting events in the pavilion. They can get on a boat. They can come across to where we're at here on a football game day and just sell and experience that. When that man or woman, that boy or girl goes to a different school, they're going to remember, wow, I did this awesome boat trip. And then after the game, we got back on the boat and we went back and shot 3 points in the gym, whatever they might be able to do. We're trying to create an experience for the staff and the coaches here that gives them a leg up when they're contesting for kids or staff.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you mentioned that you don't want to do anything that's anywhere else. You're on a campus right now that literally has a building that was copied somewhere else. The Farrell Center and the Hawaii basketball are exactly the same. So you've been given a charge to move the basketball team into a unique home for the first time in 45 years.
It's look, it's what's the phrase? Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. We've certainly had a couple of our buildings copied by other schools and universities, never as good as the original. And I think that, again, is one of the challenges. When you think about the development center and how that sort of uniquely cradles the marina, how the pavilion sits on 35, how it's got this great front door, the views up and down, it's going to be hard for somebody to replicate that. They might be able to copy the form of the roof or this or that, but unless they excavate and fill a hole with water, there's going to be things about this building and the experience of what it means to live in that you're just not going to get anywhere else.
How much you mentioned talks with Mac and others, but how much do the coaches chime in on things like this?
Are we on the air?
Yeah. yeah, we are.
There's the safe answer, and then there's the real. I think we always want to hear what coaches need. The building's got to be successful no matter who the head coach is going to be. But absolutely, every program has had a voice. We want to make sure we know, back to my comment before, what are the things you have to have, and then what are the things you want to have. And then we work with the administration to make sure that the fingerprint of this building is going to be Baylor University, no matter what. You will always know this as a Baylor building, and something that Max said, and I hope he won't mind me sharing, but he's like, look, if someone is right for Baylor, then they'll be right for this project. We don't want to create a building for somebody who doesn't fit the ethos and the mold and who we are as Baylor Bears. And he said that person will be right for this facility because this facility is right for Baylor. And so I think that's been something we've been using as a kind of a guidepost, whether it's the Foster Pavilion or the Fudge Football. It's always about somebody fitting Baylor, not necessarily the facility fitting a coach.
Jon Niemuth
Scott Drew didn't get your phone number, did he, by any chance?
No, don't give him your cell number. Jon
We
Niemuth,
want Coach Drew to be here for a long time.
Yeah.
well, everyone does. Jon Niemuth, again, AECOM Sports is building the Foster Pavilion, the Fudge Football facility, the Operations Center as well. So it's not a bad time to be in your business, huh? With all the basically arms races of college facilities that they did that, we want this. Is this, even with COVID and construction and distribution, is this a great time for your business?
I think it's look, what we do is always fun. I think the thing that's unique about now is maybe 10 years ago people built buildings to build buildings. I think the thing that we're really advocating, and again, Mac's been a great client and friend of mine for a long, long time, it's not just building buildings to build buildings. It's building buildings that will have an impact. Transformative impact. revenue, recruiting, it's got to have an impact. So how is this benefiting the university, benefiting the athletic department, financially efficient operations, getting kids here? I always like to guarantee every building we do, we guarantee 3 wins a year. You hire us, we sign on the bottom line. But what we do is always fun, but it's about building buildings that will contribute to the university positively from a financial standpoint as well as performance on the floor.
Building the Clippers arena too. That's the venue that $1.2 billion arena. Is that correct?
You got to do it like Dr. Evil, 1.2 billion. That's also one of my projects. That's been a fun project. We're going on year 8 with that one right now, but we got another 20 months of construction. That'll be phenomenal when that opens up.
Yeah, you get to work with the great people in Southern California on that one too. I'm sure that's smooth. You mentioned about like whoever is here, you want the building to fit. That's got to be kind of a challenging thing of selecting what you want, because this is a 50, 75-year decision on an arena.
Yeah, and it's as much about that, and like I said, it's about providing flexibility. I think one of the terms we like to use is a line of obsolescence. Like, we never want to build a building that is obsolete or out of date or faddish the day it opens. You want to have a building that's timeless. You want to have a building that's flexible. So, hey, coaches come and go, programs change. None of us, when we started this process, back in 18 or 19, even the concept of NIL didn't really exist. So how are we providing a canvas that the university will be flexible and grow, but it also needs to look enough like Baylor that the community is going to embrace it, adopt it, and make it their own?
How did you get into this part of the business of, obviously architecture and all of that, but, building arenas and designing? How did that all come about?
My mom. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually true. She said, "You're good at stuff. You should be an architect." So she was the one who encouraged me to be an architect years ago. It was not much more scientific than that. I fell into this in the early 90s when it was just truly becoming a thing, and found a niche, loved it, was excited by the client types, doing things like this, and just stuck with it ever since. Kind of found a knack for it and stayed in my lane.
Yeah. Mac had mentioned something, and we appreciate your time here today as well, that they're going to start, dirt starts churning. How long? What is your timeline, or what has they told you they want the timeline to be before the Foster Pavilion's available?
Well, we have a schedule, and we always want to do better than that. I think best case, and I'm going to get my dates wrong, we're sitting here at 22, so that'd be 23, 24. I think we want to be open for the 25 season.
Right.
And if we can do better than that, we will. But as you can see, construction's underway. Usually it takes, around 18 to 24 months to do a building of this size. We want to do it right. Things happen, but I think that was kind of ultimately our goal. And we've had projects where, hey, look, if we have a really wet summer and something happens, we have the safety valve of opening for conference play versus non-conference. But right now our plan is to be open for non-conference play. Again, if I'm doing my math right, it'll be the 25 season.
One more thing. How many of these facilities do you juggle at one time? Is it 5? Is it 50? You guys got other work going on elsewhere, right?
We try to manage that. Again, I think the work we do, it's important that we're giving our best to every client. We never want to have so much work that we can't do what's right by Baylor. Baylor's entrusted our firm and our team with a lot of resources, and we want to make sure we're doing right. I think right now in our shop right now, we probably have a half a dozen projects like this.
That's a good number.
This is maybe 1 of 6.
All right. John, thanks for your time. Appreciate you being here at Baylor.
Thank you for having me on.
Jon Niemuth, AECOM Sports. They're building the Foster Pavilion, the Fudge football facility, among others, up and down the Brazos at Baylor. This is SICM 365 Radio.